In the summer of 1943, the USS Eldridge allegedly vanished from a naval shipyard in a flash of blinding light. According to the legend, the 300-foot destroyer teleported across the space-time continuum while enveloped in a thick, glowing green fog. When the ship supposedly reappeared, the stories about the crew were grim. Sailors were said to be violently sick, suffering from severe hallucinations, or driven completely mad by whatever they had experienced inside that green mist. The official historical record is clear on this event. The United States Navy vehemently denies it ever happened, and military historians trace the origins of the story straight to a fabricated 1955 book on UFOs. Curious, if the story is pure fiction, its core details are curiously specific. The accounts describe a ship wrapped from bow to stern in heavy electrical cables to generate that signature green mist, details that align closely with high-voltage electromagnetism rather than the typical science fiction tropes of the era. Decades later, a team of physicists published this paper. They looked past the claims of aliens and teleportation and treated the strange details of the myth as a literal engineering prompt. By running the math on a ship wrapped in massive induction coils using 1940s technology, we can calculate exactly what happens when you turn the power on. Long before the UFO conspiracy theories emerged, the idea of wrapping a naval vessel in electrical cables belonged to Nikola Tesla. This text shows a 1917 interview where Tesla outlined a method for detecting submarines. He proposed erecting a large rectangular helix, or an inductance coil of insulated wire, measuring perhaps 400 feet in length, right around the hull of a ship. During World War II, the scientists designing the nation's weapons, including the head of the Office of Scientific Research and Development, Vannevar Bush, were actively studying these exact electromagnetic concepts. The Navy even put a variation of this into practice. To sweep for magnetic mines, they wrapped massive World War II-era battleships in heavy electrical coils to alter their magnetic signatures, a classified process known as degaussing. While the physical setup of the legend is historically accurate, a massive hurdle remains, whether that array of cables could be pushed far enough to actually hide a ship from radar. While detecting submarines was a priority, the ultimate engineering challenge of the war was finding a way to evade the newly developed electromagnetic radar waves. Physicist Arnold Sommerfeld spent the war researching the precise mathematics of radar stealth and absorbing materials. This equation outlines Sommerfeld's strict rule for making an object invisible to radar. It shows that the ship's surface impedance must perfectly match the impedance of free space. Impedance is a measurement that defines the total opposition a material offers to the flow of alternating current. To fulfill that specific ratio, the material of the ship's hull has to become intensely ferromagnetic. For a World War II-era L-band radar operating at 1.5 GHz, reducing a ship's radar reflection to less than 1% requires generating a localized magnetic field in excess of 15,000 amperes per meter. 15,000 amperes per meter is a brute force amount of electromagnetic energy. Reaching that massive number would push the synchronous generators on an electric drive warship to their absolute breaking point. So what actually happens to the surrounding environment when you dump a 15,000 ampere per meter magnetic field directly into ocean water? The salt water reacts violently to the extreme electromagnetic stress. The sheer force of the field rips the water apart through severe ionization and cavitation. Cavitation is the formation of vapor bubbles in a liquid due to rapid pressure changes, which can lead to energetic collapses. The Corum paper reveals the result, a dense, glowing green mist around the energy source. But trapping a crew inside this oscillating field severely impacts the brain. They experience magnetophosphines, intense magnetic fields inducing perceptions of flashing light directly in the optic nerve. When you run the equations, the glowing green fog and the crazed, hallucinating crew from the legend match the literal, documented outputs of extreme electromagnetic stress. The Philadelphia experiment emerges as the distorted civilian echo of a terrifying physics problem, a brute force attempt at invisibility that achieved its mathematical goals by violently tearing apart the environment and the minds of its crew.